Welcome, everybody, to the Bitcoin Pivot podcast series. This is Kyle Shirkness, founder and Bitcoin podcaster. The block height of this recording is 930,099. It's also known as the timestamp to freedom. I have Jesse Markowitz here today with me. We're going to go over some important information to kick off the first episode in this series. And I'm going to turn it over to Jesse just to quickly just say a few words because I know he's eager to, do this process with me. Jesse, welcome.
I'm just excited to be on a podcast with you and actually get this thing going. Yeah, I've just been in technology for a couple of decades here and been in Bitcoin for a while. It's been very exciting and excited to share it with you and all of our listeners.
Same here, brother. I really, really feel passionate about sharing Bitcoin with people like yourself and with people that aren't even in Bitcoin. So as a Bitcoiner, you being a Bitcoiner, we can be out now and talking freely and just connecting with the world. And this is awesome what technology, like you said, is allowing us to do. And so I'm really glad you're doing this with me. And, let's get this started. So, we were discussing how we would start this podcast, for the first episode. And, we thought it would be important that we share how we met each other. And so, if you want to say how we met, I'm fine with you starting that off and I'll just kind of go with it.
Sure, absolutely. One of the things which is challenging sometimes in the Bitcoin world is if you're into Bitcoin and your family, friends, coworkers, whatever else really aren't, it's kind of a how do you meet other Bitcoiners? And one of the things that for us was very nice is actually being able to meet in person at a Bitcoin meetup. And so getting a chance to meet other people who are doing Bitcoin and understanding a little bit about what they're doing, what their journey was, learning from them, sharing, experiences, good and bad in the area was very good. So it was in just a local meetup. Got a chance to catch up with you, and the more I learned, the more we talked, the clearer the connection was.
That's great. You know what? I totally agree. Like, it was the summer of 2024. Met at a local meetup here in Phoenixville. And, I introduced myself, my background, and you and I just connected instantaneously. And I'll never forget your facial. I said, "Hey, I'm doing my doctoral project on this," and you just like your eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. It was like awesome, and
Awesome.
that just really broke the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always excited when people are doing, not just talking. And so hearing that you were working on your PhD and actually doing some actual research on this stuff was always, that's the type of stuff I'm always excited by.
I totally agree. You said something really important there. I just want to highlight for our listeners and viewers. I believe that it's not just about talking about Bitcoin; it's what you're doing as a builder and in the Bitcoin space. You got to do more than just talk. There's been times when I talk a lot, and there's no action initially. But then I'm a believer that if you're really going to deliver, you're going to bring out everything you're doing in Bitcoin at some point. And you have always been a very big supporter of that. So I just want to thank you for that, Jesse. Thank you for
My pleasure. And everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is different. Some people think about Bitcoin as like this hardcore cryptography, everything else. And if you're not a crypto programmer, well, I can't do Bitcoin because I don't do that. Yeah, you're right. If you're not doing that, you're not doing that. But you can do something different. You can do your piece. And even if it's just Bitcoin in your life making a difference there, that makes a difference. The issue on it is that you're actually doing something, not just talking about it. That for me at least is it.
No, I appreciate that more than you know. And that's what's gotten us closer. Obviously, look where we're at right now. We're doing doing an actual podcast.
Start a podcast.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is a great next thing we wanted to bring to the viewers was how did we get started in Bitcoin? You already said about a Bitcoin journey, so we might as well
Mm.
share our initial Bitcoin journey. And
Oh my God.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
let's go with it. So,
This is one of those things of, it's not always a smooth, obvious, oh, somebody told me about Bitcoin and that was it. I became a huge investor, whatever. In my case, I heard about Bitcoin, played with it for a bit, and totally dropped the ball. I had probably, I don't know, a 5, 6 year gap after I first found out about Bitcoin and mucked around with it for a bit. I'm like, yeah, okay, it seems interesting, but who knows if that thing's ever going to work? And totally dropped it out. And then some years later, actually a number of years later, I actually came back and found an author that I liked who is very big in the Bitcoin and crypto space in general, who was selling a book, and he would only sell it for crypto. I think at the time it was Ethereum, Bitcoin, and maybe another option that he had. That was it. So I really wanted the book. I didn't have much other choice in the matter. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this thing, I got to figure out how do I pay him in Bitcoin. So I had to, open up an account at an exchange. I did Coinbase because back then, that Coinbase was the place where we all started. A lot of us started, and bought some Bitcoin there, and changed up to cryptos, whatever. Bought the book, and kind of got back into it. And then after a year or so, a couple years, whatever it was, I got all into the different cryptos and the different coins, and there was a coin for this, a coin for that, and I would buy some when they were first starting out and try to get in on these initial coin things and try to make money on it. And I made a couple bucks, but at the end of the day, for me, what I discovered was most of those projects weren't really projects about a different crypto technology. They were just using this new coin or whatever else as a way of fundraising without going through, again, in the United States type of stuff, through the SEC or whatever else and filing all the paperwork. It was just a fundraising tactic. And so for me, Bitcoin was really the key um, technology, the key base, the key new money that allowed people to run whatever project they wanted to without it being a fundraising tool. And so the more I investigated it, the less and less of other coins, whatever else I felt really mattered or had a chance or, really anything I had any interest in doing anything with. And so I became more and more Bitcoin focused. And then from there, my personal journey, my personal actions that I took were teaching other people, a lot of local CPAs, attorneys, doing talks at different places, that type of stuff. And so that's for me. That's where I got to my personal side business, yourpersonalcryptoassistant.com, where I teach people about Bitcoin. And one of the things that you and I have talked about a bit in terms of the spreading the word, helping other people get started with Bitcoin and to start their journey.
I see, this is what I love about listening to others' journeys because, it helps spark others' interest in figuring out, well, where do I belong in this journey
Yeah.
myself? Uh, you know, that's kind of like me. Literally, I've talked in other podcasts that I've just started doing was talking about the Bitcoin white paper. And
Mm.
for me, the Bitcoin white paper is the start of my journey. I've talked to you right before we did this podcast. I told you again, Section 10, privacy of the Bitcoin white paper is what turned me to Bitcoin. But we both, we both know, and most other people know, there's a flaw with Bitcoin's public ledger system, and that is it's not truly that much privacy.
I don't think I'd describe it as a flaw. I think it's just a question of thinking about it as like many other technologies. It's not perfect. There are trade-offs in every system, right? It's part of the
Yes,
trade-offs.
and I
And I
have
think as long as people are aware, it's fine. And I think it's great that, even if it's not perfect privacy, the ability to have some privacy, that was the part that attracted you to Bitcoin, which is great.
right.
Different people, different things. Yeah.
And I like how you said, look, it's not necessarily a flaw, because I have also said about system designs in my podcast already about saying how this is how it's not perfect, but it works. And,
Hmm.
that's, I focus on the underlying technology of Bitcoin, and that right there, like yourself, you mentioned, has taken me through a journey of experimenting other alternative blockchains to try to understand if there was something better. And after going through that painful journey as well, I have ultimately returned to the OG, the Bitcoin public ledger, digital ledger.
Back to the original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just look, distributed ledger technology. I don't know if you can really try to make, like, I don't want to go down that path. It's, we all know it gets pretty interesting, but Bitcoin's distributed ledger technology is what works right now for the world, and that's what we need in this society.
We should have a separate podcast episode specifically on Bitcoin versus other blockchains versus other distributed ledger technology, but not get distracted on it for this one.
I agree, totally agree.
For,
So that takes us back
for today, I
into the
think
next topic of this episode is how did Bitcoin make our life, an impact on our lives? And I think that's
mhm.
easy for us. So I can start off with that and just say Bitcoin has made a tremendous impact on my life and my family's life in that it allowed me to understand more than just money, but the culture, the creativity, and connections. And that's what I call the three C's of Bitcoin. I wouldn't have met as many people in the world or even locally like yourself if it wasn't for Bitcoin. And it has helped me grow as an individual, try to become a better father and husband. Um, I'm still not anywhere near perfect at that, but I think we're all striving for that perfection, right? But
All of our
ultimately, the sound money uh, that we call the digital asset on Bitcoin, it's more than just that. I want to let people know, for me, it's more than just money, even though it does make an impact there as well. But I think there's just so much more to it, and we don't have to get into that today. That's, I think, a setup for a future discussion between you and I. I don't know. I want to let you tell your side of the impact.
the big impact for me is it allowed me to really understand money. It's kind of like high school level Spanish for me. The first time I started learning a foreign language at all really allowed me to understand how English worked better in many respects in a way that I just never got from a learning English by itself. Being able to see it as a comparison, being able to see it from outside the system, really helped me understand how money works, how it goes, everything else on that. So for me, I think that's probably the biggest impact on me personally, my life, my family, whatever else, is a better understanding of how our money works in the United States, but also in the world.
I just want to say something. I've been in the financial services industry for 18 plus years, and
Yeah.
I went through the financial crisis working at a credit union. So I know deeply what it meant then, and Bitcoin kind of emerged out of out of that crisis, right? So um, something you said about learning about money, I I I totally agree. That is the foundation for my Bitcoin impact on my Bitcoin journey. And that's what led to many other things I mentioned as well, the three C's of Bitcoin. So I think you and I have a future setup to go through both of those in one episode, right? So
A lot of future topics.
exactly. So stand by, everybody. We got more coming. Um, the last thing I think you and I really just wanted to hit on today was in this episode is how others can start their own Bitcoin journey, like you and I have. And you know, I think he said it right at the beginning of this whole podcast about how we met was Bitcoin meetups. I mean, I think meetups are really a great way to understand Bitcoin is by going and because other people there are trying to do the same thing, and what has worked or doesn't work for each person, you kind of collaborate and build off of that. So, what do you think, Jesse?
I think for a lot of people, Bitcoin meetups are really helpful. I'm nervous about saying that's like the answer because I know there's a bunch of people for whom I don't want to meet strangers, at a coffee shop or whatever it is and all that type of stuff. So it's not the right answer for everyone, but I think it's the right answer for a lot of people. And a lot of it is just for each individual person. When you start your Bitcoin journey, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to learn about Bitcoin. And you mentioned earlier about the white paper. One of the things which I really, really like about the white paper for Bitcoin is as a introductory document, it does a great job in several different areas. One is the technical detail, laying out the here's how it could work, but it also lays out at a very, very accessible level for somebody who's not super technical. What's the purpose of this? And if you kind of ignore some of the equations and the computer jargon, whatever in the middle, and you read through the introduction, you read through some of the different parts about it and understand, well, what's the design? What's the impact? What are the things that are not in the code, but in the incentive mechanisms that make it all work? You can get a very good understanding of it just from the white paper. So for some people, the right answer may be Google on the internet, or use some AI whatever to learn through the various web pages and books and all the rest of that. Like, what is Bitcoin and how do I do whatever I want to do with it? And how does it help me? That type of stuff. For a lot of people, however, once they get through that initial reading and watching some YouTube videos or anything like that, they do have a lot of questions. And this is an area where some interaction, wherever it might be, whether it be as simple as sending in a questions to the Bitcoin Pivot and say, hey, can you guys do an episode just on this? Whether it's a go to a meetup and talk to people in person, whether it's joining a Telegram or a Discord or an X conversation, whatever else, and getting a chance to throw your questions out there and having kind of that real time conversation where people are getting feedback back to you, whatever that is. But that's kind of typically that next step in terms of deepening your understanding. And then, of course, the critical part on it is not just the talk, but the action. And that is actually going ahead and starting purchasing some Bitcoin, understanding how that works, both from an investment perspective and from a technology perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the way we learned in the earlier times with Bitcoin is reading the white paper, getting as much understanding as you can from the white paper. It's not a very long read. You don't have to understand 100% of it from the technical side, but eventually you start learning the technical side quick when you do what you just said, which is I'll never forget getting my own wallet, trying to understand how crypto keys actually work, and trying to pray that when I moved my Bitcoin from an exchange that I just purchased to that wallet, that it got there. But I can't. That's a whole other discussion. Like just the feeling of having something in your hand, possessing the keys to something that you actually own. I don't. There's no words that could ever describe that.
I remember being much younger and purchasing my very first car. I actually bought it for cash. And when I say for cash, I mean I had a stack of 20s that I took out of the bank. And I went to the guy's house and like, here you go, I'm buying this car, man. Um, there's a real sense though of having dollar bills in my hand as a I own this, I control it. Um, I have it, which is a very different feel. It's a very different experience than having numbers in a bank account type of a thing. And one of the things that's really great about Bitcoin is it gives you the ability to actually own it, to hold it, to know that it is in your control, that you can custody it. Where, if you have it on an exchange or like a bank account type of stuff, it is just not the same.
Exactly, and we'll get into more of that with these. I think these the series of episodes that we're going to do, and but I just want to remind everybody that starting your own Bitcoin journey like Jesse and I have, it's simple. Read the white paper, do some Google research, watch some YouTube videos. There's a lot of free resources out there. But write your questions down. And I still think going to a meetup, and Jesse did reciprocate, that's how we met each other.
It is.
Meetups are very important. Take your questions because somebody like a Jesse or myself will be at that meetup you go to, and they're going to have a lot of answers for you. And that's when it
Happy
just
to answer and take the time. Yeah.
exactly. So
I know we're running short on time. The last thing I want to make sure to emphasize to folks who are listening to this is there's a famous saying about the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago.
Yes.
And the second best time is today. If you haven't yet started your Bitcoin journey, don't worry. You have not missed the boat. Just start today.
Exactly. And on that, I'm going to say the famous ending I usually say, which is, once you truly understand Bitcoin and, start getting into Bitcoin and understand how ownership feels, then you'll understand that nobody can take it from you, and you're going to have a great, great journey ahead of yourself. So, Jesse, thanks for coming on for episode 1 of,
My pleasure.
and we got many more to come, guys. So hang tight. We'll
Looking
be
to do
back.
more. We got a lot of topics. Got a lot of topics to go.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys next time.